Dan's a fantastic man. He really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
the one.
What's going on, everybody? This is Dan French. This is another French Workbench podcast here on a Saturday. I want to thank everybody out there for tuning in. We appreciate the support, everybody out there. We've been growing. This channel is really starting to take off. This is the channel that has the most real and behind-the-scenes information regarding financing, real estate, money talk, entrepreneurs through on-job experience, educating through on-job experience here in Las Vegas. I'm your host, Dan French. We're streaming live from Las Vegas, and we have a full studio. We have a lot of good information today. We're going to talk a lot about what's happening in the Las Vegas market. We're also going to talk about, is this really mirroring what's going on since the mid-2000s, 2008? And also we're going to talk about the CDC extending the moratorium, and we're going to go through the whole process here. We're going to talk a lot about what's going on with Las Vegas. So we're going to introduce Matt. Matt, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, man. What's going on, man? How's life?
Life is good, you know, just trying to live my best life.
Yeah.
You know, that's all.
Yeah, so what have you been up to, man? You've been
working.
Yeah.
Work's been good. Got a couple contracts accepted, but we're only going to go with one of them. It's the same buyer. And
same buyer,
yeah,
huh?
just been having to be really quick. They're from out of state, so I have to be Lightning McQueen to like get a video of the house and fucking write an offer or not in 3 nanoseconds and get it accepted.
Absolutely.
And it's worked like twice this week, and it's a contingent offer as well. But I know the other agents, so they know that. Like,
so that's a big part of it, man. You gotta have likability. You gotta
if
know.
If
you
they
gotta
know
have
you,
your voice right there.
Yeah, but it helps.
I mean, that accent's probably worth
it
what?
does help. I mean,
I'd pay at least $100.
It doesn't spit out any money
classes.
directly, but it does help, you know. And so yeah, it's been a good week, and I had a bit of fun.
It's the spy that shags you.
You know, went to Cosmopolitan yesterday.
Yeah.
For like 3 hours to a pool party. And
Cool.
That was awesome.
So give us some
Really
details
awesome.
like you were earlier.
Just kidding. Update from same sort of thing from last week.
let me tell you.
First it started out with my cowboy hat.
Yeah,
then
so
it started out with
listen,
my British accent and finished with my Jeep.
I actually worn that cowboy hat the other week.
Yeah.
And then I took it to the pool, and I was the only person with the cowboy hat, and everyone thought I was Texas.
Matt knows this works.
So then
You just completely threw them off.
I was like undercover. Yeah,
like-
I was undercover Englishman all the way.
Yeah.
I do these little things. I call it climbing up the American white man totem pole. And so like I got like a cowboy hat, and then yesterday I took a Jeep as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to like, you know, be more American day
Who's
by
at the
day.
top?
And
of that
American
pole.
girls reacted to that, didn't they?
Who's on the top
I
of
haven't
that
discovered it yet. I'm just I'm just getting up there.
Just
I don't know
okay.
what's up. I'm gonna get as far as I can, you know?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
That's it.
go across. We're gonna come back to this here in a second. We got Mr. Brett Jenny. What's up, buddy? He's also taking a drink right in the middle. That's not
Sorry.
introducing him.
Right when I'm taking a drink, why don't you introduce me? Hey! Me and my bottle of water.
What's
Doing
going on,
all
buddy?
right. I'm liquidated.
What have you been up to, man?
Just trying to get ahead, man. You know how it goes.
I understand. We got
Trying to keep up with this market.
Yeah. We got also Mr. Joe Dragon. What's up, buddy?
What's going on?
Mr. Joe No Hat Dragon.
Second time you comment.
Just like
I did get a haircut on Thursday, and apparently
You
for
look
Dan-
good,
No
buddy.
hat dragon.
No, it looks good. Looks good. I like it. Man. You know what?
could
I
be
wish I
better.
had hair because
It
I'd
couldn't
probably
be like Matt
rocking
over
it more. Also, we got Esmeralda
Matt
Lucia.
has Ted Danson
And
hair.
Esmeralda, what's happening over here? How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. So what's happening as far as anything new going on?
Oh, all kinds of stuff.
Well, what?
All kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff. Okay.
We'll
Don't pry.
I thought you were out at the golf course last night, just taking a
was.
few back, right?
I was.
You golf?
BBC. No.
Just sit down. Just talking to country club men.
She just whacks balls.
Just kidding.
No, whack.
Oh, whack.
Whack.
I was like,
You know,
wax.
like,
I thought you said wax balls. I was like, what?
That's inappropriate. I would never say that.
That's what it sounded
All
like.
right, beyond the harassment.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
happened?
Okay. Yeah. No waxing balls.
No, whacking.
I thought
Whacking.
that's what you said, man.
said
I was
whacking.
like, did
I
he
said
just
whack.
really say that?
No, it's like, you know when you whack a ball playing golf, you know? Golfing.
Oh, man.
It's about golf.
This is no whack ball zone. No whack ball zone right here.
Oh my god. let's get back into what we were trying to talk about. All right, so
We started off impressive.
yeah, we started off really good and it just went sideways.
You started out asking her about what she's been up to, and we're talking about sweaty balls. Oh, whack! Okay, sorry. Let's get
back into
we're
this.
adults here. We're adults. We're adults.
Okay, so we all know that many Americans can't afford or couldn't afford a year ago on to buying into or paying their mortgage, paying their rent. So you look at a lot of the things that's going on right now. You got the Biden administration and Harris, if you want to say Biden and Harris administration, coming out and extending the CDC to October 3rd. They've also extended the moratorium for student loans to pay for them. And so we're looking at all this data, and roughly we have 9 million jobs that are across the country right now to take on, right? And so I guess what we're looking at is with all the data and all these angles that we're looking at, you got 9 million jobs created or have opportunity to get into getting employment, 9 million. Last quarter, fewer than 5 million Americans paid their rent despite the new increase. 28 million student loan debt payments were missed. And this is all of last year. So if you go back from the start of the pandemic, really, we're a year out, right? We're further out than just being, it's a couple of months. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's enough time for us to kind of recover at this point. You look
I got
at
a question. When
41 billion rental payments missed, 76.5 billion mortgage payments missed, and you got 155 billion missed in student loans. So who's paying for all this, right? Where is all this headed, and is it really going to make a difference extending this another 2 months? Because I feel, what is the purpose of this? I want to talk about this for a second. With
the purpose is to get reelected.
Oh,
I mean,
I know, but yeah.
Let's take it one at a time here.
The end game.
Well, look, you look at this and it's like, well, if we haven't gotten better, first off, if you have 9 million jobs, right? Why are these jobs not being filled? That's the question. If you got this many jobs, why are they not being
9
filled?
million jobs, what? Lost? What
No, that are open to be taken across the country. Well, I mean, that's maybe the point, but to me, it's like, well, why would you reward another 2 months? Now, I understand some people need to use that, but are some people really not using it for the best of its benefit of you really need it under a certain crisis position, right?
The only way to really fairly break that down would be compared to the statistics on both sides. How many people are abusing it and how many people is it really affecting?
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother something we're not going to get into.
How do you have any access to those statistics?
That's what I'm saying.
That's like an arbitrary question.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah. That's what I mean though, is there's no way to really, so to have that argument doesn't really do anything.
Go ahead.
I will say this. You guys know what Sky Canyon is?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know the Starbucks that at least was there? Mm-hmm. All right, it's closed. I heard it was closed. I want to know if you confirm this because there was something in the paper that said this because they could not find enough workers, which is insane to me. When do you remember a Starbucks, McDonald's, Burger King, any type of these chainy fast food restaurant joints ever shutting down a branch? Yeah. Even in like 2009. Yeah. That's insane to me.
I mean, there is a client is a casino executive and at Cosmo, and during the week they have the same staff. They're short on staff for the restaurants, so the same crew of staff rotates around restaurants, and they have different restaurants that are dark because they can't find enough workers to work in the restaurants to keep all the restaurants open. Dark, like they're not open, but they move the staff around to work in different restaurants to have different restaurants open, and there's they're having a very hard time finding people, and probably a lot of it's to do with the unemployment. Like, who was it? I had someone, there was, I can't remember the context, but there was some girl that was like doing something for me, working, and then she like slyly said to me,
Was this at the pool?
I can't remember. It was like the other week, but what I do remember,
I see what you did there.
What I do remember though is that she winked at me and she goes, I said to her like, "Are you doing all right, making money?" And she winked at me and said, "I'm still collecting unemployment," and like so. Like it's every, they just need to cut off the unemployment.
Well,
and then people have to sort themselves out.
What is that $600 thing or whatever that was? Is that federal stimulus still going through with unemployment?
I believe so.
It is?
I think so. I think it ends at the end of September.
Well,
I don't think
yeah, I mean,
but there's unemployment.
To me, it might be. To me, I kind of look at it more of a macro level, I guess, as I think it's a attitude shift in a lot of people, and not to say a generational thing, but people simply won't put up with now what they used to.
Yeah.
From employers.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Well, even if you want to go to like Goldman Sachs and people getting out of like Harvard with an internship to do an internship at Goldman Sachs, they're saying, we don't want to work from home. We don't want to put in all these crazy hours 6 days a week. We want to work from home 3 days a week. And Goldman Sachs says no at first, but then these people are able to go to other financial corporations that will allow them to do that. So then they're going to lose out on the talent. So then they have to. Same thing with my brother. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, well, being in a labor-friendly market's one thing. Being in an artificial labor-friendly market's something else. So which one are we in? Well, there's a combination of the two.
I mean, and so when more of a general laborer, my brother owns a plumbing business back in Wisconsin. And he's had this same problem for probably the last 6-7 years, which is, he needs to hire a journeyman or someone to come in from the ground floor up. And, you can make easily $100,000 a year now being a plumber, or I'm sorry, like maybe 85, 90 grand a year being a plumber for someone else, not even owning your own shop. And these people were coming in, and my brother's like, yeah, I'm hiring for a laborer. And this one kid comes in and says, okay, I'm going to need $30 an hour, and I'm going to need all my weekends off, and I'm going to need a company van. This kid's never done any labor in his life, but they can't hire, like there's nobody willing to do the trades. But if you think about it, if you get in the trades, electricians, plumbing, whatever it is, these guys are making $100,000 a year by the time they're 30 years old.
The question
but people
is
don't want to do it because
do we really need to actually extend it again? And I'm saying, look,
I'm saying it's an attitude shift. I think comes into play.
You have a bunch of people that have money now. They're sitting on it. I think they're spending their money on other things.
Yeah.
The more you push this down the road, they're not paying rent. They're not paying mortgage. You got all these things. First off, who's suffering? Is the banks going to suffer, or are they going to just write this off, saying that this is a loss? So are they really going to suffer? They could write it off.
I think the government's going to help the banks out or take care of the banks so they don't.
Right.
That's what they always do. And you're right. So all that happens is the can gets kicked down the road.
So do you think that us extending this 2 more months is actually something we should have done?
No. Heck no, we shouldn't have done it. This is insane. Dude,
nobody wants to see anybody evicted, man. And like I've been almost homeless before in my life, multiple times. So believe me, I understand the pressure of what's going on in your mind when you're in that situation. But at the end of the day, when do we start?
Here's what I'll pose this question
going forward.
Esmeralda, what do you think? Because this is something that's perplexed me the entire time. You had the 2020 COVID. You had March of 2020 when everything got shut down. You had a dip in the market. Everybody panicked. Mm-hmm. Since that time, the market's like, oh, it's not the apocalypse. We're going to continue on. And we've been in this rage ever since. Yet everywhere I go, people say, like, the recovery. What recovery? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Am I not understanding something? When did we go into a recession to begin with?
Yeah.
And why are we talking about recovery?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen an increase again in this pandemic, right? We see another Delta variant that's come out, but we're not shutting down the economy. We did the first time, but we're not shutting it down this time. Now, I know maybe owners and people, mom and pop shops, casinos, they're being more responsible. But, you look at these things and it's like, well, if you're going to keep these businesses open, I know we're a little bit smarter now, but should we have shut down before, And then what is the outcome? Like, are we going to continue? Like, when is this going to stop where they keep kicking that can down the road? A lot of people that are landlords are not happy about this. They're losing a ton of money.
I feel, I feel
I don't
bad.
think it's legally enforceable.
Well, I mean, either way, think about being a landlord and you want to get into investing property and it's a great way to grow your income or have residual income and grow your value, right? And so you only have 1 or 2 homes. You're not some big company that's coming in and buying all these, and you happen to have bad tenants or at least even one of them that, I mean, dude, it's like,
well, and like I said last week,
dude, I would be so resentful.
To your point, Brett, like,
Agree.
well, this is what we have. You have high housing costs, right? Mm-hmm. You have tenants not paying. As soon as you get them out somehow, you just sell that thing because you're going to make money. What's the point to keep renting? Now, people are complaining about not affordable housing and housing prices. Well, if you're taking inventory off the market, which is what you're doing by extending the CDC, that's just compounding the problem.
The thing, though, is they're buying those 1 or 2 homes Like, yeah, if they sold them compared to when they bought them, I don't care what time they bought them, assuming it was at least a year ago, then when they sell it, they're going to make money. Yes.
Right, that's my point.
But that's not why they bought them. They bought them to rent them out for years.
Well, they bought them to make money. So at this point, if you're
Correct.
in a year and a half in, this thing's not making me any money from rental income.
So yeah, but
I can pocket 200 right now or 400 if I have
Correct.
two. I'm going to do that.
But there are things in place that, in a sense, is forcing you to make a decision that was not the reason why.
Right.
It's forcing your business decision, man. Now, if you want to do that separately on your own, awesome. That's the power of being a property owner.
Okay,
But
check this
you
out.
know,
So statistically,
nobody likes being.
So statistically, in North Las Vegas, there was 100,000 homes that payments were not being made because of renting.
How many?
100,000. That's
Yeah.
just North Las Vegas. That's not Summerlin.
That's a lot.
That's not Southwest.
Yeah.
That's not Henderson. So
yeah.
that alone tells you what the if that was to take place, and let's say we did not get that 2-month extension, then the market would it would fluctuate different. We would have more homes in the market.
I've got a story on that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because I had...
Agreed. And that's what's gonna.
It's cryptic. I won't say who, but somebody called me, client situation. Had a home in Summerlin they were renting, right? They bought a new home in Summerlin, and then they went to move out of their rental, right? And they didn't pay the last 2 to 3 months of rent and simply claimed COVID was the reason. Now, obviously, if
They
you're,
still owe the money
if you're
privately to that
throwing a
person.
big down payment on a new home, you're not in a money tight print situation.
Did the landlord find out about it?
Well, yeah, then they threw him to collection. So then
Yeah.
it was like, oh, whatever. But that's one example, and I've got
Yeah.
a few of
People
those.
are working the system.
Well, right, and that's what happens when you put when you put a loose system in place.
Yeah.
And I think they know it's going to be worked, and they don't care because
Yeah.
it's all about stimulating and
Yep.
whatnot. They don't care. It's the PPP.
Here's the
same
moral
thing.
of the story: humans, if you allow us to, we will.
Well, yeah, we
Period.
self-interest drives everyone.
I'm telling you, that's
Everyone.
that's what caused a housing crash back in the day was shitty lending.
Right.
But guess what? If you don't start offering shitty lending too, then they're going to get all the business from you and everyone else. So now everyone else has got to do it, and that's basically
was-
what caused.
Domino effect.
Yeah, when you allow people to go as far as they want without saying here's a cutoff point, they will each and every time.
Well, I mean, that is capitalism.
Every time.
But
Well,
you
yeah,
put
but-
regulations in place.
Exactly.
Every time we've been burned, and I think everybody's got short-term memory problems at this
Yeah.
point. So I don't know. What are the listeners? Any comments?
Yeah,
What do they
some-
think?
As far as what? Tell me.
Whether the extension was a good idea, bad idea, agree, disagree,
Right.
that sort of thing.
I don't know. They haven't really brought up any questions about that, but they were just saying there's a couple of questions on here, but I just feel, yeah, there's not too many questions regarding what we're talking about, but we'll go over these questions in a second. But I just feel that
read it.
you're kicking that can down the road a little bit, and you're seeing that do people really need that support, or do they need that help? And I think that's what we're really talking about here.
Yeah.
And so there's some that do. So you can't say that some people don't need
Absolutely.
the support
Absolutely.
because there is
that's
people.
what I'm saying. Is
There's a lot
how
of-
do you know what's
Yeah, but when the
work,
ones who
go make
don't-
some money.
What's that?
They need to just go out and make some money.
Well, do you think they're doing it so they can say, you know what, we can continue GDP growing, right? Because if you're not paying your mortgage or your rent, what are you using the money for, right? If there's jobs available, yeah, you can make money, and there's more money to
for
be made
GameStop
for GameStop, right?
Well, I mean, but this whole thing's
and
pretty.
AMC.
I mean, because what is money, right? Money's a
it's
representation.
fictitious.
Yeah, it's a representation of value in some
So-
sort of way.
So, like, it's almost just a belief system.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
And once we switch that belief system,
Oh, we're not getting crypto today, but we can't.
Well,
I don't know if Dan wants it.
you're proving my point though to that. Anyways,
No,
go
but,
ahead.
but my point is with this. I mean, the end of the day, if you want a house, if you want food, if you want something, it's somebody somewhere who's doing that, right?
Yes.
Right.
So if that's the inflation, if everybody just has it and not having to work to actually produce anything, you will see an economic collapse. I don't know if that's where we're headed, but I can guarantee you, if this keeps going on year after year after year, it'll be disastrous.
Absolutely. I mean,
So-
I think that's what's going to get. I mean, people say, "Oh, the housing market, this and that." I think it's simple supply and demand right now with the housing market.
Yeah.
and that's easily explainable because of that. But the bigger picture is inflation and us just printing money, like it means nothing, and having no backing, and the world by the day becoming more globalized.
Yeah.
I just think that's what we need to watch out for.
Well, I think it bleeds over into other things too. Like you're looking at a lot of things that's going on with shortage of inventory. We don't have a lot of things at our fingertips. Especially if you're a business owner. We're going to talk with Esmeralda here about. You look at the car situation, right, and vehicles. They're used cars. They're a lot more now, right? They're going up. Why is that, Esmeralda?
So, one of my brother-in-laws, he works at BMW, and he was saying that the used cars, that they can't even keep them in the lot right now, where they're overpaying for ticket price by $2,000 to $5,000 to just get the car.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough cars being produced to supply the demand for cars right now. So if you have a used car, it's a commodity. It's basically like you're going to get more money than what it is worth.
Wait a minute, hold on. I'm sorry.
Cars
One
were
more
the
time.
most.
I'm sorry.
So what's happening right now in the car market, in the cars used market, I don't know about the new, but they're saying that the ticket price that the car is being sold for in the lot, there's people coming in and outbidding each other for that car over from
On the
2,000
sticker price.
So the sticker price in that used BMW is $40,000. People are coming in with 46, 45, 46,
42 to 45,
$43,000.
It's an odd world right now. That's insane.
And okay,
It's insane.
And then listen to this. So,
Dude, I know.
That's insane.
And then listen to this. So Target, every time there was a stimulus check that would go out, Target would purposely have more appliances and like anything to do with like computers, and they will sell out because they knew that that's what they were going to sell out of.
Computers,
like gadgets,
TVs, gadgets, anything to do with electronics.
Computer chips.
for business
Computer
work
chips.
or just play.
For
Stock
anything.
ticker, look at
Anything.
Taiwan Semi.
That was the biggest sell every
Telling
time
you.
there was a stimulus check going out.
Well, okay, hold on one second, because Dan, you have an economics degree, right?
Oh yeah,
All right,
top notch.
You do? You don't have? Do you have an economics degree?
No,
Talk
I
to
don't have
us.
an economics
Oh,
degree.
I thought you said you did.
No.
What
I
was
went
your
to
major?
college.
Bullshitting?
Yeah,
That's my major.
But I didn't
Mine
go
was
into
criminal
AKA
justice.
philosophy.
Oh, maybe he had a dream. Sorry, a dream. You were
Oh,
talking
sorry,
about
yeah,
your
maybe I had
economics
a
degree.
dream.
No, but all right. This is kind of the general layout
Dan was an 8-year vet
from a macro perspective.
in
Okay?
college.
In 08, right, and even in 20 in March, when you have a dip in the economy like that, macro will say pump stimulus, and the whole purpose is just to get people to spend money on things like that because you got to keep the mindset and consumption going. At the same time, it says when we're getting really hot like this, the worst thing you can do is dump a bunch of more money onto the system because that will trigger the inflation problem, which some people think was just a made-up term. I don't know if you know what happened.
Well, that's the government intervene and
right, and you made
Which
the
is
point earlier,
Keynesian.
re-election. Well, right. Well, see, here's the problem because you made the point about re-elections, which I think that is going on.
that is. I mean,
And there's an example of that. I think it was Nixon's presidency. He had a problem where the Fed was going to hike the interest rates, and he didn't like that because he didn't like what was going to do his re-election possibilities. So he calls up the chairman of the Fed and basically yells at him and whatnot. And the chairman says, "Yeah, thank you," and hangs up and does what he does anyhow. The point being that those guys operate just simply what the economy's doing.
Yeah.
The politicians.
yeah.
They like it when you don't have to pay your student
Dude, I
debt. They
know.
like it when they get the check. You go into that photo box, you're going to vote for me. If you think that doesn't exist
Dude.
and I'm not above that.
Reality doesn't matter. Perception's reality.
Right. I mean,
Anything in the world,
And by the way,
basically.
this goes beyond party lines. Trump
Yeah,
and Biden,
agreed.
all of them did the
Agreed.
exact same thing.
Yep.
You know,
They
there
all
was
do.
a reason he put his name on
Yeah.
the signature last year when he sent those checks
That's
out.
the problem with senators being able to have endless re-elections.
Well,
Because the minute
this-
the minute you get elected, all you can really concern about is getting reelected. That's your job to get reelected.
when does it come to
July
a
8th.
point?
That's an
your
issue.
job.
Here's the thing.
It is.
We all know that there is some people that need this, right? The talk, what we're talking about, you know. And so there's a lot of moving parts that's going on in the economy. You look at overpriced on materials. That's that's a big problem. You're looking at, like we said, the car situation. But we're also looking at, well, people are still having the opportunity to not pay their rent or mortgage. So it seems like costs are going up, but yet they don't have to pay their rent or mortgage. Is that so they can, afford to pay for these things? 'Cause it's just it's almost like a perfect storm.
We all do a variation of it. Okay, so part of one variation of that was, let's go back to the first housing crash, which was listen, I know it's an American dream to own a house, but not everybody should own a house. I should say not that. And not everybody qualifies for a house, and that's just the way it is, right? But people don't want to talk about that, don't want to admit that, and don't want to, so what can we do to make it?
You can't say that, because if you're a bank, you're like, okay, you're a lender, right? Or you're a realtor. You're like a bartender. You're given it, what drink do you want? Oh, I got these drinks to give you. I'm going to give you whatever's needed. You can't really compare.
Yeah, you can, because all that should be based upon a standard or certain criteria.
Sure.
And so when you start, this market's completely different. But I'm just saying, this is a different version, not like that, which has led to a domino fall. But this is
disagree that the subprime mortgages were the main reason for the recession. I think that the main reason for the recession, that was part of it, because it made it easier to buy houses. But if you remember that time, and I made this point a few times, everybody had this ridiculous, and it was like everybody, ridiculous idea that if you bought real estate, that thing was just going to double, triple for like the rest of your life, right? Which, maybe we got pie in the sky. The point was like 90%, I don't know if it was that high, but a huge amount of the population was invested in real estate. So when it crashed, we all crashed together, and we all had the same psychological effect and stopped consuming.
That psychological mentality is what fueled it.
Correct. It's what fuels recessions.
But what made it real were the subprimes.
That's what. So it was like. But what I'm
That's
saying,
what actually physically made it crash.
What I'm saying is, if you didn't have nearly as many people in the real estate market that didn't own homes, it would have been a shockwave bubble,
absolutely,
like a .com bubble, not a catastrophic collapse that it turned out to be.
Absolutely, but that was brought on by everybody should own a house.
I know what you're saying. So we're
kind
of saying,
like, you got to have a certain criteria. For a reason.
Let's kind of come back a little bit. No, but that's a different market. We're in a different situation.
Yeah, but
now.
I was saying that in effect that every cycle there's always a different version of where it's coming from.
Right, but this is different because people are not worried about paying their rent or mortgage. They may be down the road a little bit, but
when people took out the subprimes, they weren't worried about the housing market crash.
You've had a year and a half to kind of get restructured, kind of figure out what you're going to do, what your game plan is. Even if you were unemployed, you have jobs. It's not like, you're going into a position where you can't get some sort of job. Maybe it's not the job that you had prior to this. Yeah. Some people do need this.
It's
right?
an attitude shift. I'm telling you.
Some people,
yeah, there are jobs, but people don't want to work them.
I don't know, Matt. You look forward.
I mean,
and we're wasting your voice.
Not at all.
Come on.
No.
Agree.
I just would say
group consensus.
I would say that. We're getting into a lot of economics here, but at the end of the day, the right people have to be in the right homes, and that's not happening now. And if we
but don't you think credit worthiness and people that are getting loans? A lot of people are still getting loans, and there's a lot of cash buyers. They're not in a position where they can't afford the home, though.
No, they're not. And the market, I don't see any reason. It's scary number, have 100,000 people, 100,000 households not being paid. Was that landlords or was that mortgages forbearance?
It was not the landlord, it was the tenant.
The tenants, yeah. So that's a big problem. It's, we're just kicking the can on it at the moment, and it's going to change at some point.
The tenant. So what do you think, Esmeralda? Because the landlord's the one taking care of plumbing, your stuff, right? If they're not getting paid,
right?
Isn't that
okay? So this is the part where it's scary because you have the tenants that are not making the payment, and then you just made a comment not too long ago about people that are buying homes that maybe this is just their one extra home that they bought. So now they have the burden of making the payment for the tenant plus their own payment. So you're in a position where maybe you're not making enough that you were planning to make another extra mortgage for someone else's household that technically you were supposed to be capitalizing in, right?
In theory, but is that actually happening? Because they're getting stimulus too, though, right?
No, not yet.
No.
Now the law just changed where
they can apply for some now, I think.
Right. So the landlord can apply to try to make up for some of that. They're going to get a portion of to make up for that money. But what's crazy about it is that the tenant, you can't kick out the tenant if they apply for assistance as well, and they have up to 45 days to still stay in that home without making a payment, as long as they can prove that they're trying to get help.
What's crazy is you need to apply for assistance to make money on your investment.
For assistance on your assistance.
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
And but
apply
you have
for
to
money.
qualify.
I mean, you need to apply for help on your investment. That's
Are you guys
But
old
you
enough
guys, this is
that's a weird scenario in itself.
But this is a year. This is over a year. People living in your home that have not
I
made a
know.
payment.
Yeah.
Are you guys old enough to remember when they talked about things like balancing the budget? That was like a high priority.
Oh, Slick Willie and the cigar move.
I guess we're getting closer, right?
Yeah.
It's getting kind of crazy.
I would not want to be the landlord right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you
Not in
think
that
that some
scenario.
people need, like, obviously there's people that need it.
Yes, there
Is
is.
the landlord getting some type of help, though, where, let's say if they have a mortgage on their current
Just now they're
rental,
starting to apply, I think. Right?
Yeah, that's what
Right.
we just talked about. Yeah.
Right. And so would that help them long term? And maybe there's a way that they can write that off. You would think
Why
that-
should you have to?
Because it's a loss and it's something that was unforeseen.
Why should
loss.
you be taking a loss, man? Like, let's get to the bigger thing.
Okay, so do you agree with it or you don't agree with it?
With what?
Them extending it or
No,
or,
I don't. Yeah.
I think it's unconstitutional
I would
too.
say this
but that's
as well.
another question.
Well,
That's
I don't think it's legal.
From a
That's a whole
different
nother. But
perspective.
they're
Yeah.
trying to. So,
Yeah.
The
so-
CDC has said, look, there should be this moratorium, but the CDC doesn't have any legislative power.
Yeah.
And they can just say stuff. They're just a government agency. So it's not really legally, but you also have to look at the other
it's
motivation.
not staying in your lane.
There's another motivation from the
It's not
CDC.
the Center of Disease Control,
but
not
the
Center of
CDC
Economic
The
Advice.
CDC makes money off the
Exactly.
vaccine.
Two different things.
Exactly.
And the CDC makes money off the vaccine. They've said that
Exactly, dude.
the
What's
people
going
that
on?
are going to get evicted are vulnerable from getting the COVID. And so my theory is what they're going to do is that they said we can't evict people now because they're going to be more vulnerable to catching COVID. So that rubber stamps them to say whatever they like.
Okay.
Right? Then in addition to
I got
that,
schooled.
it like with the eviction being held up and holding businesses to ransom as well, then they can use this as another push to say, well, take the vaccines.
Well, let's say this. Okay, so
And we're
what's
probably
the
going to have
difference-
another lockdown.
what's
I
the-
think we're going to
well,
have
what
another lockdown.
And this is what I was getting to. What is the difference of the outbreak now? Obviously, it was something
No one
completely new.
knows.
But when it first started, when they locked everything down to where we see the increases now, and also the challenges, because a lot of these casinos are starting to really.
Do
Go
you
ahead.
think, right, if people were dropping dead in the streets and we had this really sinister pandemic, do you think that they would be publicly firing doctors and nurses that don't get the vaccine? And they're like saying you can't work if you don't get the vaccine.
No, I
Well,
think
guess
they'd
what?
hold them down and
if
inject them at
if
that
we
point.
if we
It's like
had
you're
yeah,
talking
but
about
if
people
we
dying.
if we really had a pandemic, do you think they would be like firing all these medical staff because they would be overwhelmed in the hospitals?
But I think you have to have a vaccine, don't you? Working in the medical.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
No,
think
they're
it's
trying
I think
to
it's
force
starting
people to
it's
do
starting
it.
to come to it.
yeah. But like
Yeah, but how many people? How many doctors? What are their stats and actual
Quite a
number
lot.
of nurses
A
and
lot.
doctors that getting fired?
a lot. Anyone
See,
that
I don't have a
refuses-
problem with hospitals forcing it. Like you're a hospital, you're
a healthcare
trying.
worker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I went to school and they said I had to
You're going to be directly dealing
take a
with
needle,
sick people.
and I hate needles because
so
they
in
just hate 'em.
Australia
But-
now,
So do I, dude.
in Australia, you
So do
can't,
I, believe me.
you can't go to the grocery store and shop if you don't have a vaccine. You can't go to any stores or businesses unless you're vaccinated.
Australia?
Yeah.
But how do they
Man,
know?
Amazon is looking better by the
You
day.
have to have a vaccine.
Well, they were
But
were
it's
just
like the Jews in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
It's just the same. It's segregation.
Well, that's a
Well,
bit of
look,
an
it's-
extreme
it's
example
segregation.
between.
Let's do this.
Where's your papers?
How does this affect the housing market itself, though? Here,
It's
Well,
going to go up.
It's going to go
It's
up.
going to go
And
up
look,
more, and that
everybody-
helps. That helps the
Well, there's
administration.
going to be if once let's go back to what we were talking about, the 2 months being extended for tenants and also landlords. That if once that ends, there'll definitely be opportunity for more homes in the market, because what I do foresee, and quote me on this, there's going to be landlords that are going to be so exhausted
Agreed.
by the time this process is over. They're not going to care about getting the little extra money for the year. They're going to want to sell this house and move on
Agreed.
because they're done. They're done. They're
Will
exhausted.
they be able to though? See, that's the thing. What if they couldn't afford the rents? There's got to be some landlords out there that couldn't just, hey, I'm going to foot the bill for this. What if they can't afford it and they just have to either
No, but that's what I'm saying.
sale?
But that's
They
what I'm
might
saying.
have to short sale.
Yeah, and that's what
That's
I'm
what
saying.
I'm saying is, so
They're-
to
it's
go back to
going-
that thing is, that's not why they bought the
NOD list is about to skyrocket.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to go
hope
crazy.
so.
Yeah,
I don't think
it
it's
will
going to
either.
go because I don't think it's the situation is different. It's not like, well, you don't have people not paying their rent. They don't have to. They don't have to pay their mortgage. Excuse me. So if you don't have to pay anything, and then you have nothing that's going to come at you afterwards,
well, I think
they can
I
transition.
think number one, banks really learned from the first housing crash. And they learned.
Well, I don't think that it'll be
an
an NOD where we're going to hit the market. I just think homes will be
Hold on
back
a
in the
second.
market.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What are we talking about, guys? Are we talking about
More homes coming on the market or not?
Or
Well,
foreclosures?
what is the outcome? What is the outcome of extending this, and also what are landlords going through? Because the topic here is, should we keep doing and extending this moratorium, and what is the outcome going to be for everyone, and is it something that we agree upon?
Based on people that I've dealt with, I brought up last time that Brett's, and Esmeralda's make examples. If you are the small mom and pop kind of renter, landlord person, there's no reason for you to be in this business.
Yep.
There's none.
100% agree.
I'd say get out. And
You know what
don't
I would
mess
say
with
for
it.
an alternative right now is I would do Section 8 for my property.
Yeah, but those are
Because
the
it's
ones that are going to
guaranteed government
suffer.
money.
The mom and
Just
pops
saying,
that
it's a
own these
solution. I'm not
properties,
saying it's your...
not corporations,
it's
but
the
the
way
mom
to-
and pops that own, let's say,
second
5,
home.
10, 15 properties,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be the first ones to sell because
Well, see, I don't
they're in
think-
panic mode.
But I don't think so. No, hear me out. The mom and pop sells it, right? Why are they going to suffer when the housing market price is what it is right
Because
now?
maybe, okay, so look, I think it's like this. If you don't have extra capital to just lean on, like I'm talking about a substantial amount of capital, but you start to get worried. And I don't know if it's, I think it's
Yeah,
more
but what
of a
I'm saying, if
panic.
you have 1 or 2 rentals, you sell. That's a huge chunk of equity you put in your pocket.
You're ahead. You're not going to have to do a short sale.
Here's the
So
problem.
why
though.
wouldn't you sell
way.
a year ago instead of selling now?
Because a year ago, I mean, the equity went up by 20,000 on average. I mean,
People
Yeah,
are making payments.
First of all, from last year at this time, your home has appreciated 25% in value.
Right.
Second of all, last year at this time,
Yeah, it was-
you didn't know that people were going to be going a year and a half
Yeah.
without paying
And
their
it
rent.
was
If
only
you would have known that to
3%.
be, I mean, hindsight's 2020, dude. If you knew that from the get-go,
right. But to answer the full,
I just keep it vacant for a year and a half.
who
and avoid the headache.
suffers? To answer your question,
yeah,
so I think that, I mean, whether you take my advice or not, I think that's what they're going to do.
sure.
And then you have a situation. Well, how do you get housing? You have 2 options. One, you buy a house, which if you can't afford to pay your rent, you can't afford to buy a house. Or 2, you got to apply for government assistance housing. How else are you going to get a house? Because the government's literally chasing out
but you have
the
to
supply
qualify
right now.
You have to qualify for that government assistance housing.
The hedge funds are
that's-
snatching
snatching
up the rest.
So you got to prove
that's
that
my
you're,
point.
You got to prove though that you're in a position where you can get it. That's all I'm saying. So,
But
I
the
don't
only way
think-
you can get
how many-
government assistance is if you get a vaccine. Watch.
Well, my point. Well, my point is simple. Like for housing, though, because they're not going to be able to afford rent. Because what you're doing, what the government, and I don't know if they realize they're doing it or not, but they are taking supply and they are constricting it, rental supply, the rental market, because of that very reason. What is my recourse if you tell me you have to rent my house out and I can't collect rent and I can't kick them out? That is a major problem for the supply market. That's why the eviction laws exist in the first place. Not because somebody wrote a law one day and said, gee whiz, I really like to throw people out in the street. We put a system together and you're like toppling the system over kind of overnight. And that is a major problem.
So I'm saying you got to have a certain standard and criteria. But if you can just come in and wipe away that criteria or move that line,
right. Who wants to
halfway through the game, you're going to move the goalposts, bro. That's what they're doing.
Right. And it's the same problem with this foreclosure and banks. When I worked for a law firm that we just represented banks, and I worked for them 4 years. Okay, and
good times.
Foreclosure is the last option they have, right? If you by the time you get to a foreclosure situation, you're eating half the loan at least.
Yeah, dude, that's
and
what
you're
I'm
just
saying.
doing
Banks
damage
don't want to
control.
foreclose because it costs them more money to foreclose.
They do anything to keep somebody in there, right? Usually. When really good times, it may be an exception to that.
So do you think there's going to be an increase in like short sales and things like that because of this market?
No.
No, not short sales, but there will be homes in the market.
Yeah, but how many homes? Like, what is the real number of homes that you guys like? What would you think?
I think there'll be homes more than what we have now if that does take place in the.
I think that now, after what we've witnessed over the past year and a half, it's really hard to forecast what could happen because the government has. I mean,
I do agree with you on that 100%.
We can kind of bet that the government's going to be consistent in their kicking the can and like gerrymandering. So I doubt there's going to be like a flood of homes suddenly. It seems unlikely, and there's not going to be any short sales because of all the equity they've got. But it inventory should increase. You would think it would increase over time, but it's just impossible to forecast because we just don't. You have no idea how the government's going to like influence the situation.
And I don't think the government
They're
does
always
either.
going to, huh?
Yeah,
I don't think the government.
I agree with you.
And they don't care. The government doesn't. The government doesn't care.
Well, I feel
What does the government care about, really?
I feel like
getting reelected.
We're born and we're grown up in a society that's pretty stable. And by the way, American society
Yeah.
is really stable. At the same time, if you notice in this city, people that get elected, I mean, this city's a great example,
Yeah.
unfortunately, get elected to positions. There was a person that got elected to the school board last time without a high school diploma, right?
It's popularity contest.
I don't think she's on the board anymore. But then they say Clark County has one of the worst school districts in the country. And I'm like, yeah, well, who's making the decision? My point is, I don't think there's
That's
a
another conversation.
I don't think there's a long-term plan.
I'm from the Midwest.
Okay, so maybe a little bit. But my point is, I don't think there is a long-term plan. I think they're doing things like this.
Yeah, they are.
And that's really
Yeah.
unfortunate. And I guess we'll have to pay attention if things go south because then things will switch. I don't know.
So I think everybody's in agreement that this is, I don't know. I think some people are going to need it, some people aren't, but it's definitely a situation where.
Let's kind of talk about just straight facts right now, right? So we just ran the number of active single-family residentials, not condos, not townhouses.
Okay.
And we did that right before we came on the show, and there were, 3,555.
Yeah.
Single-family homes.
So less.
That's from 0 to whatever millions there is.
Right.
So that's less than the last time I was here.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So before we even had our growth that we've had these last couple of years from everyone moving here, before that growth, even then, an average market should have been anywhere between 12, 13, maybe 14,000 actives on the market for a normal, good, steady supply. Say 14,000.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3,500.
That's terrible.
Okay.
That's literally a quarter of what we should have for a normal market, and that was before everybody moving here.
Is 14,000
For
a
a win.
little bit high though? That seems like a high number. I would say like maybe.
I'm just telling you what it was when it was the healthiest. And when I first got here,
Was it over inflated? Like, here's why I said there was not enough buyers for the homes at one point here in Vegas. Would you not agree?
Here was the shift. Is what I've noticed for a healthy market was anywhere between probably 12,000 to 15,000 homes. Now, when I first got here in January of 2009, I remember there was like almost 14,000 homes on the market, and 12,000 of them were foreclosures.
Yeah.
Right? But 5, 6, 7, 8 years later, you're still relatively around 12, 13, 14,000 homes, maybe 15, because there's still about the same amount of people, relatively, give or take a little. But it wasn't 12,000 out of those 14,000 foreclosures. It was now the foreclosures are maybe 700, and the rest are regular property, regular listings.
What do you think, Matt? I mean, you kind of see the same thing. Like, what is the number of homes that you would say is a healthy market? Do you agree?
So a healthy market is a balanced market is considered between a 3 to 6 month supply of homes. At the
I was hearing something 6.5 months. I'm not sure, but you can tell me.
Okay, I don't know. I thought it was
What does
like
the number look like, though,
less
for
than
that?
3 months is like a buyer's market. 3 to 6 months is a balanced market.
So with this market, how much would
I don't know what the absorption rate is. How many homes sell like in a month, and then how many homes come on the market in a month.
Okay.
So that absorption rate has to be balanced to stay within 3 to 6 months.
We're completely off.
We're completely off, but there's also there's greater migration.
We're way off,
patterns
dude.
of
You're just
people
used to it
moving
being
here.
way off.
Yeah.
So
So-
14,000 seems like outrageous, and it's not. We're just really low
So
for like a long time.
I mean,
For how long?
This is the other thing, though.
At least a year.
Is this is where it becomes
That's why it's gone up
important
25%.
to work with someone that knows what they're doing, because like even with this challenging market, this week I got 2 contracts accepted for contingent, and normally you have to have someone that knows how to like get in and get out and get what you want. And sadly, there's going to be people that are not going to be able to buy a home, or it's a sad situation in many aspects. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, people have to take accountability for their own dwelling and their own income, whether that's from the government or wherever, and they've got to do the best and be happy with it. And if they're not happy with it, they got to make a change.
Yeah.
They can't sit on their hands.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. And
and that's kind of because Dan, you made the point a few times in the show, because the people that really need it, right? It seems to me that those people are there's not a large number of those people. Here's why. Take Uber, for example, right? Do you know what has qualified to drive for Uber? You just go on there, register your car, and you can't have a bunch of speeding tickets, right?
Yeah.
And have a driver's license. It's paying like $80,000 to $100,000 a year.
Do you want to hear something
in Vegas?
Funny? Listen to this.
That's insane.
Listen to this.
There's no qualifications, and they're just handing it out.
My neighbors. I went to Mexico.
So why would you go work for Starbucks then?
Listen to this. My neighbors.
I wonder why I even do my own work sometimes with this type of ridiculous
money coming
out.
I got up at 5 o'clock this morning, and I took my neighbors to the airport because they couldn't rely on getting an Uber or Lyft to get to the airport because it's so hard to get.
Right.
So hard to get. And then I went to Mexico a few months ago, and we ordered the Uber and Lyft like an hour early, and we just made it like to the airport.
Right.
And
I ordered an Uber when I came back from my mom's funeral last month, and it was like a Thursday night at like midnight.
I spoke
and it took 45 minutes for the Uber to get there, and it was like $82.
I spoke to an Uber driver about why he thought there was a shortage.
Take a freaking limo home to someone.
Man. What the Uber driver told me was that number one, there's the unemployment, the collecting unemployment. Number two, a lot of the drivers there was this special program where they could lease a car or buy a car and be an Uber driver through Uber.
I knew about that program.
And they all got crushed, and all the cars got taken back. So all those Uber and Lyft drivers got taken out. And I would say an Uber and Lyft driver is probably doing all right now.
They're doing really well.
They're doing all right.
They're doing. I mean, just think about that though, right? Because we're talking 80,000, which I think is correct, at least.
And they should.
I do
on
too.
average.
And you can make good money if you take them.
And that's not enticing enough for people to get out the door. 7 years ago, that would have blown your mind.
That's what I'm saying. Attitude shift, dude, and a whole new. We're just.
Here's a great. I got a story.
I'm just telling you.
I got a
people
story.
refuse to now.
I graduated. So I went to law school in 2011, but I graduated in 2010. Degree in finance and economics, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to go to law school, but I need money and whatnot. So I'm like, maybe I'll get a finance job, and this is the dead of the economy, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it was 22, 23, something like that. And so I had a whole bunch of high school jobs and stuff like that. I throw my applications at the typical, financial places. When they didn't respond to me, I go to the typical stores, department stores, whatever, trying to get a job. Wells Fargo responds for a teller job, $10 an hour. Says, come in for an interview. I go in for an interview. I didn't know, but there was 40 other people in this room, all applying for the same job between the ages of 20 and 50.
See, when people go through hard times, that's how they come out of it.
And
appreciative.
When I got it, I was ecstatic for this $10 job an hour. Now it's like, give me $100,000 drive Uber.
And that's what I'm saying. It's a whole attitude shift, which is before we all knew things sucked and but you're like, this is life and this is what you got to do. Now, generally in an overall view, a whole segment's like, no, we're just not going to.
Well, why should I?
And you can, as an employer or whatever, can get away with dismissing those people because... but when everybody as a whole says we're not going to, what are you going to do, dude?
When you get a check for $4,000 every 2 weeks,
I know. I'm just telling you, it's a whole.
I learned yesterday.
Attitude shift.
I had a friend in town visiting. He used to live here. We used to play rugby together, and he's married and he's in town for a conference. And he wanted to go yesterday to the strip club Spearmint Rhino before we went to the pool.
Oh, great facility.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
Because I don't like strip clubs. But
sure you don't.
But the strip club shut down, and it shut down. All the strip clubs are shut down because of the new mandate, and you can't get a lap dance anymore in Las Vegas. And I think that's going to affect the economy.
That's the worst story I've heard all year.
Las Vegas is no place to live at all.
Let me tell you another.
Dude, I can't even get a lap dance.
The last time I went to a strip club was when it just opened up, and I went with a client, and he's like big on the strip clubs. And
oh yeah, he is right.
I got those clients too. Golf course or strip club, or waiting doing a deal.
So then, listen, I haven't been to a strip club for about a year or a year. No, actually since New Year. Actually.
Hey, he's a real client. He's the client. He's blaming someone else.
So then what happened is I went in there.
Friend to a friend.
It's the first time it's opened up, right? and we wanted to go and support local business.
We want to go and single moms.
Oh, we're throwing that. Hey, we're throwing that card in.
And fatherless daughters.
And then, so no one was in there, and then, you get like solicited for dances and stuff. And I was just like, minding my own business.
Explain to me what happens in those places.
I said, well, how much is a dance? And she's like, it's $40. And I'm like, are you
went up
kidding me?
$5.
Are you kidding me? Last time I came here, it was $20 about a year ago.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it's $40 now. Inflation.
Inflation. Is that what she said?
Yeah.
Some of the most rate to the street poor business people you ever meet.
On lap dances.
Hey, I would have
How do you wear
just
this we're in a strip club. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Stripper
Inflation.
gotta eat too.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's
Did you start haggling back and forth? Like,
Huh?
did you meet her at 30 or something, or say?
No, I didn't. I just
Only an attorney goes to a strip club and starts negotiating.
Yeah, that's funny.
Everyone else just enjoys
Hey,
That's the last time.
I hope she's smart. I would have been like $50.
I have to be honest. When my friend called me, because I was supposed to meet him at the Cosmo, and he said we're going to meet at Spearmint Rhino because I just need to like go to the Rhino. I haven't been there for a long time.
I just need
and
to relax.
I was so relieved when he called me and said Rhino's closed, and I was like, thank God, because it's just.
Oh, really? Darn. Guess I'll meet you at the pool.
Yeah, you were talking about
Bring my
your
cowboy
foot pool
hat.
last week. That seemed to be pretty cool.
Hey, bring my hat.
That seemed to be all around me.
Exactly. So anyway, there's inflation in the strip clubs as well.
You know, it's funny. So a few years ago, I'm just at home one night, and my wife, well, we weren't married then, but anyhow, she comes home and she's like, "Oh, I was at blah blah strip club tonight, and I saw our friend, or a fellow coworker, and at this table, and I said hi, and he didn't really look at me. I said, First of all, what do you mean? Why were you at blah blah strip club? And she said, oh, some partner wanted to take me down there to meet clients or something. And I saw that, this friend that,
So she was snitching.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you
Snitches
understand.
get stitches.
Yeah, but the
He
thing
was
is,
probably shocked to see you there, and probably kind of
See, guys notice that. Well, we just know guy code. You're like, I didn't see shit.
Yeah.
My name's Paul.
She's just
Sweeney.
like, oh yeah, I was at the local whatever. Why are you at local?
Hold on, let's rewind. You were at a strip club, honey?
Yeah. I didn't get
start
no
with that.
text. Just sitting here watching. Anyhow, moving on.
Well, let's get back to it.
I wouldn't care. I'd be like, okay, whatever.
Esmeralda, you don't go to strip clubs, do you?
I mean, I've been to them with clients, but it's not my thing. But I don't care.
Is it like when you have somebody come in out of town, you like, hey, let's go to the strip club? That people used to do that. Remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's not my favorite place,
No.
but I don't.
I think if you're
do you
in
really
Vegas,
think
it's-
that women for business, that's the first place they think to take their clients? I'm not trying to sound sexist.
No, it's not women.
I
It
wouldn't.
seems like
But
I think it's business
Hey, I'm taking
people.
you to the
I
golf course.
understand, but do you like think that's like
We're going to the
I think
golf
it's more of a-
course. I'll
more
see
of
you
a,
there.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, well,
I think
she's
that strip club's
entitled.
more of a guy preference for
She's
Yeah.
entitled. I wanted to bring up something.
just my opinion.
Fidelity National Title. We're not gonna throw names out there and get them, in trouble. But
You
they
just
keep-
threw it out.
National title. We're not going to mention any names. Fidelity
Hey.
National Title.
been a sponsor experiment.
Bro, you know how many secrets I'm going to tell you?
You're gonna have reps calling. Like,
Exactly. So
WSP.
what's funny is
Broke man code, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So they got fined $1 million. They were given marketing help to realtors in California.
Who was?
Fidelity National
Really?
Title. Yeah.
California's really strict.
Well, they're strict, but
Really
it's like,
strict.
I mean,
Yeah.
look,
So they said they looked at that as giving them money for advertising by
Yeah,
taking
well,
them out to a.
I don't know. I mean, their business
you can't even
increased.
give out a
like-
pin in California.
In California, title companies used to do crazy stuff to get
Yeah.
business. Like they would pay for like
Yeah.
Copy machines.
copy machines, tenant, coffee
Carpet?
Yeah, like they would like broker it.
We're picking you up in the private jet.
Joe, the
Now
reason
those
why.
some perks I wish I
No,
had.
listen, let me explain.
Yeah,
the
go
reason
carpet.
why is because
Joe's like, I'm
Shut the
moving to
front
the.
door.
they give financial contributions in indirect ways, like helping an office do their build out on their office. But like, let's say the build out's like a couple $100,000, and they say you pay for the build out. But like you're our title company.
You're our title
And
company,
they
you be in our
or,
building,
like,
but you pay
The
for
title
so
companies.
California clamped down on it so hard, so it's stricter than
So
Nevada.
Esmeralda, you have like a what those carpet sheets in your backyard?
No.
You like walk in there,
So I have a menu.
shaggy or thin.
Yeah,
She has like 100 carpet samples. These little pallets sitting in the back.
Meet
Why do you have all those?
meet me at the golf course.
That's right. Meet me at the golf course, I'll tell you.
Let's
Wax
sign
some
this
balls
contract.
on this carpet.
Carpet. Wow.
We get to use my favorite word now. We circled back on that one.
I know.
Circle
That's
back.
what I did.
Let me tell you guys
You know,
something.
at corporate, you can say circle back.
Let me tell you something about a hustle that I just found out about.
Oh, you got a hustle?
No, not me, but this is a great idea. So I know someone else that rents their car out when people come in town and they're making their car payment off of like 3 days.
How do you do
I've
that
heard
with
about that.
insurance,
I've heard
though?
about that.
Yeah.
How do you do that with your insurance, though?
Man,
Well, and if you have
'Cause
insurance and you have like a
Someone
good
else drove my
coverage-
car. Oh, insurance coming. Oh, they stole it? No, I'd let them. Well,
What?
I
No,
can't see 'em.
because they do it through apps, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't that, because I think they put their insurance through their app,
Okay.
so then their insurance
There's
takes
a,
care of it.
what app is that?
I don't know, but I heard about this,
There's an
and I
app
was
for
like,
it.
wait a minute. So
For
you
that.
lend somebody your car? They're like, yeah, I clean it. They come in town, they borrow for 2-3 days, and then he goes, yeah, they make my payments. I'm
Dude,
like,
that's free money.
I know.
Maybe.
And that's what's crazy. Is
I got a decent car. I think I can get some money for renting that sucker out.
Hey, do your Jeep make sure?
Dude,
I
but
know.
my
I
Jeep.
don't know, the Jeep
I can
is
give
special.
Jeep tours.
Here's a
Hey, Jeep tours at the strip
Here's a
club.
beer and some country music. Let's
Yeah.
go.
So as I mentioned earlier, what I'm
Wear your
trying to do,
cowboy
because
hat.
I'm originally from England,
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I say like I'm trying to work my way up the American totem pole.
Right.
And so
And they have
So
shoes
am
on the
I.
top.
different things
So
that
am
you
I.
get, like I got a truck, I got like a cowboy hat, I
Got
got
Rent the
Mandalorian
hat out.
insurance, like, so I got this Jeep and it's just, maybe I could rent it out. Like,
Dude, you should. I mean, you could get some
I
I
killer
could
money
probably
for
get
that.
like
Yeah.
$1,000 for like 3 days.
Just have it so they can't take that out.
So
in the
that's
desert,
why
'cause
there's
they'll
an
do
Uber
it.
shortage. You make more money for not driving, just
Exactly.
riding your bike.
Exactly.
You know, I had I think it was back in my first year of college, the professor said, and this things weren't that great. If you can't make money in this country, like you should be embarrassed because it's everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
If you
And
only
you
knew,
should really.
what would it be like
You
in
think it's bad here? Go
I
on.
know. It's pretty shocking.
Hey, worst
I
case
can't-
scenario, rent your car out.
Yeah.
Worst
Yeah.
case
There
scenario,
you go.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's-
Or sell the used car and buy a new car for cheaper because apparently that's a thing. We were discussing earlier. That's a bit of an
And
exaggeration,
rent it out
but
because you can afford the car note if you're gonna rent it out.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's talk about what's happening in the Las Vegas market because I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit. I want to get back to obviously 2008 market. We talked about that. One of the things I want to say is he brought up a good point here, which is Michael. He said what was also contributing to the housing crash in mid 2000s. It was you had adjustable rate mortgages. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that was a huge deal because
Nina
still
loans.
have those,
no,
right?
No income, no assets.
we do, but we don't. I don't feel like we're utilizing them
Yeah.
as frequent. Also, too, it's harder to get approved for a loan. So I think,
Yeah.
that, like I said, credit worthiness.
I
is
think
now,
I think the mortgages given back then
Yeah.
were basically the underpin to just
yeah. Well,
You know?
again, it's just a way for the banks to write more loans to make more money.
Well, the
which
long and short of it
CEOs
is when everyone's so here's the thing. When everyone's making money hand over fist, even if people know reality in the back of their mind, that's where it stays in the back of their mind. Because as long as everyone's making reality is when people are making money hand over fist, no one's going to be the first person to put up their hand and draw that red flag. They're just not going to.
Yeah. So go ahead.
That's just my opinion, and that's
We have another question here I want
The
to talk
standards
about.
were lowered to the point where you could get away with that.
Everybody here has got enough experience to probably answer this question, but it says, when in the process is it best to go and get into a new job? It says, when is getting a new job okay when in the process of buying a home? So, no, I mean, I understand, but do you know when the best...
You're going to know more than me, man, so I'm
Well,
There
I'm
is
citing
there
you.
is no best
Yeah.
time. I mean,
Okay.
it's if you get a job, let's say you're
Would
getting-
you... Okay, don't lenders, though, like to see job in the same kind of line of work?
Not necessarily. They
Really?
want to see history more.
Yeah, but...
And let me give you an example.
Okay.
Let's say if I was working, I don't know, as an Uber driver, and now I became a W-2 person, or I got a
Sure.
now I got a contract. Let's say I'm a let's just say I got something more stable.
Sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. They're gonna say, well,
You're
did you-
salaried now.
Yeah. Let's say you're a salaried employee.
Okay.
Now you have 2 years of history. Then you go into it. Now you have that salaried employment, as long as there's an employment contract or something verifying it, we're fine. Right?
So as long as it shows you've been working consistently.
Yeah, they want to see that.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that same line of work, because that used to be a bigger thing, right?
Well, I think there's a misconception. It's not really about the line of work. It's really about what type of job do you have? You know, how are you paid? Are you self-employed? Are you not self-employed?
Okay.
Are you going hourly to salary?
Basically, as long as you can bring in documents to back up you're making money and have been making money.
Correct. I think there's not a real. Now, obviously, you don't want to do it a week before you're going to close, because that could be a problem.
Yeah, I would say if you're thinking about buying a house, hold off on that changing jobs until you buy. Yeah,
right.
Same thing with don't buy a car or some stupid purchase.
So Dan, is there like a?
I, as your realtor, will kill you if you do that.
Right.
Is it like what's
Not
the
the
threshold?
lender.
Like, do you want to see a year of salary position?
No,
2 years?
there's no threshold like to the time frame you have to have it. It's just when are you getting the job, and then when you transfer, let's say it's a salary position, did you change the job? Have you started the job? Is there an employment contract that says, is there terms before getting to start the job? Right. A lot of doctors and people have to, they have to meet certain criteria. So to answer the question, there's layers to it, but there's not really a time period that says this is the exact. Now,
so to answer
in the contract, let's say you're 30 days out of closing, you probably don't want to try to get a new job at that point. Now, if it happens because you got an increase in income, or let's say you got a promotion, sure.
Yeah.
Right. But there's not really like, oh, this has got to be this way and it's got to be this way. It's just all about what is the transition, what's your history, when are you doing it, right?
Are there some aspects that look better on your end than others?
Salary's always great, especially if you have a full salary and there's no contingencies.
It's a lot more stable for a lender to loan on.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically getting an employer to say, I'm writing off on the fact that this person's going to make X amount of money and it's an annual salary. Yeah, it's just strong, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's case by case. Sometimes there's a 3-month probationary period. You have to meet that.
Yeah.
So
gotcha.
Yeah, but you guys, like, a lot of times that's easy for us to do when we're buying new homes. Like, if you're going to go out and take a client, if they get into another job during that process, it's easy. So.
Well, Dan, let me ask you another question, kind of same on topic, because I don't think we've talked about it at all. What's your recommendation for refinancing in this market? Not looking or what?
Well, I think if you have equity, which everybody has, I would say consider it, especially if you're removing some debt to replace cheaper debt. So actually what's crazy is because of what's going on with COVID, investors are pulling their money out of the stock market and other investments, putting it in the bond market, more safe haven, right? Treasuries, because they're not getting as much yield, but same time. What are you laughing about? You had something. What's going on? What happened? Was there a picture that showed some? Oh,
naughty text. naughty.
What's going on over there?
What's the problem, man?
It's not radio friendly, so let's move on to the next.
Nothing's happening here.
So
we should have a segment that just gets into Matt's personal life.
I agree.
Dating life. Like
I agree. You got 4
Could you have like a bell or something? You'd be like, ding, ding, Matt. Like,
you got 4 people right here that'll judge you immediately.
We'd all be sitting and looking at Matt like this. Go ahead, Matt. Let's go down that dark hole.
Okay, judge number 1. My life is perfect. I'm going to sit here and judge.
You know what? The street is clean on this side. Let's sweep it off.
All right, so let's go over some more questions here. Let's see.
Back to business.
Back to business, right? Would any folks there suggest doing your respective roles part-time for someone who has a full-time job, wanting to do something on the side? So I guess he's saying, if you have a job, would you get a secondary job?
I would say that if you do that, you've got to be really organized with your time. And if it's hard to have one job if you're not organized with your time. It's really hard to have 2 jobs and do well at both of them and make money. So you've got to be really organized with your time, and it's a big commitment, but people do it all the time.
Is the question directed at loans or just in general?
I think it's in general.
I would say in general, if you can pay your bills with one stream of income, that's awesome. And then if that extra job you get, have that money just apply towards creating a stream of income that's making you money constantly.
Yeah, I'd agree. Well,
I mean, ideally, I'm not saying that's the way it always works.
It's kind of crazy, but it feels like money's falling from the sky. So I would take a rake and get as much as you can in a pile, because that will stop. And if you have that pile, you can be ahead of everybody. That's how people get wealthy. That's how the Warren Buffett's of the world do what they do.
Everybody that I knew that made out with the most amount of money for investors and all that stuff back in the housing crash were people who owned everything cash.
Yeah.
They had no debt. So when it crashed, it didn't matter.
They had it when it crashed. They're like, I'll take that because it cost me nothing.
They got everything at a discount. Because they had money and no one else did.
And now they make money just because of the board.
Yep.
So what do you think?
Yeah, that's how the rich get richer.
Yeah.
That's a great position to be in.
Let's go into let's go ahead and transition. Let's transition into the real estate market and update because I want to talk with you guys. Matt, I want to start with you. What's going on out there? Like, are you in the trenches? You're seeing new homes out there that are 3 to 5. I mean, is anything changing in the world? Like, tell me some of the experiences that you've had this past week. You said you had a couple that got into contract.
Yeah, I had a couple homes, like homes that just go on the market and that are desirable, are different. And I got, I put an offer on one house. I wrote $100 over what they were asking.
$100 over?
I always do that. That's a little secret.
Big
right?
baller.
But it's not a secret anymore because I'm telling you guys, and it's not really a secret. But what you do is I always offer $100 over what they're going to offer. In case someone else has the same thought processes and it's a competitive situation, then we offered $100 more. And so you don't want to lose the house over $100. So we offered $100 over what they were asking, which was fair. But like the seller,
is that enough to sway somebody to say?
No, the clients think it's funny, and it's actually funny. I make a joke out of it to the listing agent, and it's just to start the laughter in the transaction.
I see.
Because once you start laughter in a transaction, it's game over.
Yeah, it's likability, man.
It's to game over.
Absolutely.
So anyway, they didn't. From a seller's perspective, on a home that's just going on the market, you don't want to. I wouldn't accept an offer within like 4 days. Because as a listing agent, my duty is to like extract as much value as possible, which sucks for a buyer because when you give someone what they're asking for something, or you give them more, normally that's like, okay, we're done. But like,
when you have a contract with your buyer, that's the point you make. But when you have a contract with the seller, you make a different point. Right?
So like good-looking homes are going. I did witness there was a couple homes in Royal Highlands in Southern Highlands in the southwest.
Right.
And they were listed high, and I wrote offers low on both of them, and got counters on both of them with a contingency, and that's because homes that aren't the most desirable and are sat on the market for like 14 days. I think there's some like a bit of fear in the sellers and they want to do deals. So that was very positive. I got like one contract accepted for like 40 grand less than what they're asking. And I got another one for 30 grand less with contingency. But we didn't proceed with those homes because one had problems in the SRPD that needed like 12 grand of repairs. And then the other one, then a better home came up. So what I can say is like in my own experience, I haven't, with buyers that are motivated, with my listings is good, right? They're all in contract.
Are you starting to see the listing part or the sector pick up for you, like personally?
So that's a function of where I focus my energy, and so I don't proactively go after listings religiously every day. I just get them from referrals from past clients and referrals, and so but
do enough business that works that way.
Yeah, I would say that. I was hoping that the eviction moratorium would be over because I've got some FHA buyers under like 300K and I haven't been able to help them for like over a year for each of them. And I'm sad to admit that, but like they're just strapped for cash and they're just getting beaten out every time.
I've been saying this at every other podcast and every other show is home affordability for the middle class person. It's
awful
unfortunate.
right now.
They're just bought out. So most of your buyers, what's that price range that they're at right now?
I got a handful between like 6 and million, but they're not all in town ready now. And then I've got most of mine. It varies, but here's the thing. Guess what? The median home price now is 400K.
Yeah, 411. I think the last time we looked at it,
that's
past that. So
that's a significant piece of information right there.
Yeah.
And
that just tells you if you should even get in the start.
That's for a starter house.
Yeah.
Like, so
when you hear those kind of numbers, it honestly just tempts me to sell.
I know.
Like, because I'm like, that just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, I know a realtor can help you out with that.
Yeah. Well, We'll see.
But yeah, so but no,
I don't know if I'd want an attorney for a seller.
Trust me, when you deal with it all day, I'll be your easiest client. 'Cause I don't want to go home and deal with it
That's
more.
true. That's true, man. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
yeah,
Just
so,
out of relation.
I better get the title.
Tenfold on your ass.
Hey, you heard me.
Different.
I better get the title. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't see. I mean, the only, as I mentioned, I think if we do have a lockdown, then that's going to make prices go up again and make it harder for people. But it's unknown if that will happen, and hopefully it doesn't. You know,
I think if there's anything we've learned this past year is that shit is weird right now, without a lack of better word. I mean,
it has
everything that you didn't think would happen has happened, and everything in between. I mean, dude, if you would have told me when COVID hit and da-da-da and all this stuff, and it would make sense with people, renters not paying rent and all this stuff, you would think, man, the market should do it. And it did the complete opposite.
Yeah.
People are making more money now than they were before without really working.
Yeah.
So I got a quick question.
Weird.
I got a quick question. So, Caden Shield put
yeah,
one.
that's my son.
Oh, I see. I was like, how do we have another Shield?
He's part of SHIELD Team 5.
I was yeah.
Shield Team 6.
Yeah,
SHIELD Team
what
6.
what was his question?
1 + 1 =
2.
Oh, look at
Caden.
you.
But he's not really.
That was his question?
He's smarter than that.
No, I know. I think he's probably doing that just to
He's
be
just
funny.
fu-
I think it's an inside joke he's doing on Dad.
That's funny. I was like,
He's
man,
just letting you know he's
what
there,
are the
Dad.
odds of another Shield coming on?
Keep an
and
eye on
joining
Caden Shield. He's mischievous. He with the online schooling.
Yeah.
I would get messages from his brother about missing stuff, and so I was riding him so hard all year,
Yeah.
like giving him a hard time. Nothing from Caden, and then when we got the school report, my son Caden would go. He's like an angel, and like he's like, "Hey, Dad, I'm just gonna go to my room so I can concentrate and not be distracted while I'm doing my online schooling." And I was like, "Okay, son, off you go. Well done."
Off you go.
And then off you go. And then
Hey, is it like tea time?
every day, every day.
Yeah, don't
So
mess
then-
with the tea. That's the
So
big
then
thing.
when we
though.
got the report back at the end of the year, that little devil had missed 53 days of school. And then he went to his room.
Dude, he's going to be the greatest salesman this city's ever had.
He got good grades, and he went to his room, and he was just straight gaming. But he said he was at
Oh
school.
my God, that's hilarious. But he got great grades.
He got okay grades, but the thing is, he was very smart because he's like, I could tell because he knows not to lie to me because I have a lie detector. I can always tell when people are lying.
Yeah.
It's just this talent I have. And then,
we
so-
got that shirt on.
Yeah,
no
so
doubt.
Man, I think you're awesome. Am I telling the truth or lying?
So then, he goes to me, I don't know, Dad. I think it was the Zoom.
I don't know, Dad. I think it was a Zoom. Like a teenage kid doesn't know how to use it, right? Oh, Zoom, internet.
But he said it with a smile,
I
and
don't
I'm
know what to
like,
tell you.
okay, I'm letting this slide. But like,
That's funny, dude.
you know, but you don't have to. You don't lie to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, Dad. But
Okay,
like,
Dad.
yeah,
That's funny.
That's funny, man.
pretty clever.
Yeah, I mean, so I had to bring that up. I want to ask you real quick. Matt gave us an insight of what's going on. What are you going through out there with real estate? You said that you see more properties. What is that about?
Did I say I see more properties?
You walked in and said, I see more properties coming on the market. Is that what you were talking about?
I was talking about because the last couple of times that we've ran the numbers, I think like a month ago it was like 23 or 2,500, and then last week or a week before it was like 3,100. So now we have 3,500. So in that sense, that's what I meant is I see more homes coming on the market, but then I also said that that's still like nothing compared to what should be on the market though. So it's going to take a long way to go 500 every week in increase when you're already a quarter of what you should be. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's still a long ways to go. So in a sense, it's, more are starting to come on the market, I guess. But the question is, do I think it's still just as competitive? Absolutely. For buyers. Absolutely.
I don't want to be biased on the show because we're real estate agents. You got you over here as far as I know you. You're a
I'm just
title
telling
rep.
you what I saw, man. What do I know?
Well, from a new home perspective, see, because I know you have somebody that is close to you that is in the new home realm. I don't want to give the information like everything's great and it's just booming. What's really happening out there? I mean, do you get some kind of some vibe or some things that somebody's saying to you that says that new homes are increasing?
They're still building, but what's happening is the problem is land, right? Buying land to be able to build homes.
Isn't it already bought though? I thought it goes to auction. Matt brought this up in our past show about the auction situation.
That's when land's released from the Bureau of Land Management.
Okay.
So that's government land that's being sold to. It's being parceled off. It's desert now, BLM land, and then they parcel it off and put it to auction.
But even so to buy that land, get the permits, develop it,
Takes years,
blah blah blah.
couple years.
That doesn't that's not keeping
And
up
make
for
sure
the
that
demand.
and make sure that it's utility proof.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's the biggest
That's the thing.
problem.
So even if you could buy immediate
Land.
mass amount of land right now, by the time you go through what you need to get it to the point to sell,
Because you can buy raw land and it's not compatible to build.
Exactly.
It's just not.
So
that's why
Esmeralda-
some raw land it can be. You can have two lots next to each other. One is $30,000 cheaper than the other because one has utilities to it, the other one doesn't.
Let me give you guys a quick scenario. I'm not going to mention names, but there was a big investor with a group of agents that had this investor buy a mountain in Las Vegas or in Henderson.
A mountain?
A mountain, like a physical mountain.
Black Mountain?
Which mountain?
I don't know. I'm not gonna go
Black
details.
Mountain in Henderson.
But listen, but it wasn't the right mountain, we'll say, where they could build this whole community and whatever they were meant to
They were
do.
going to build this on the mountain itself.
Yeah, they were gonna get rid of the mountain, build this community.
Not
and
all
then-
mountainsides are
and-
created equal.
And what it was they paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
They couldn't really develop the land.
Yeah, they couldn't. There was no way to
Yeah.
build it with having the utilities and all
Yeah.
the stuff they needed. It just wasn't the right mountain.
The way that the terrain was, it's just
and
it
I'm just
wasn't
saying mountain. I'm just using that as
like a
example.
hillside or something. Yeah.
So you
you're
got to
saying-
be careful with the land you're buying. Is what I'm saying.
100%.
So when you're saying land, I mean, because you're doing the insurance, right? The
Yes.
title insurance. So you're looking at applications to buy land
No,
and sell land, or how?
No.
I'm just curious.
How do I know about the land?
Yeah, how do you know the inside details and all
'Cause they
this?
do
I know
those-
somebody that is a
Yeah.
builder.
Gotcha.
And-
Because she's in the know. That's why.
I'm in the know.
She's
I'm
in
in
the
the
know,
real estate
Joe.
business.
So
In the real estate space.
I liked it.
One
so,
call, that's all. No.
No. Salt. You got me
Well,
all
kidding.
messed up. So I was trying to make a point here.
Sorry. My ADD.
So what is it? The government then not getting things approved quickly, not
Well,
getting
it's not
permits
about
done,
that.
or
It's not necessarily that it's the government. There's certain pieces of land that is not compatible to build for homes. That means
Right.
it's not ready. It's not. There's certain things.
The way that the terrain lays out is just.
But what about you guys know? Because you guys go to the south end, right? And I see a bunch of empty lots, like Blue Diamond, all
Yeah,
out
and-
there.
That's all going to get filled in. So like in
But
that,
why isn't
in the
that? That's the
southwest
question then.
curve,
because sometimes they don't want to
'cause
sell.
It takes time for it to happen. Like assemblages have to be made where land has to be made into blocks that's developed.
So this is all
Par-
government,
parcels,
right?
right?
Government
Parcels of land.
zoning,
Yeah.
Basically,
applications,
government manure
intent
stuff
to
can
use.
happen.
Yeah.
I think for sure,
So maybe they should get that
like
going
the
instead of
Southwest.
That's a
talking
whole
about
other
evictions.
conversation.
Yeah, all
now
the
you're talking about
Southwest is
politicians.
filling out.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. So my mom,
But-
my parents.
We agree on that one.
So I'll tell you this. My parents have a septic.
Septic tank?
Yes. So
When was the last time they drained it?
they just did literally.
Just kidding. We didn't have to answer.
No, but
Do they have a leach field?
no, but what I'm saying is they were when they bought the land, it wasn't like they couldn't get everything the city offered water. They have a well. I mean, all these other things because of the land.
Yeah.
So now, yes, they now where they live, there's buildings that
Developed
came in,
around.
Yeah.
but they still have their own well, their own
Right.
everything. But to be able to have access to it, yeah, it's a lot less. It's still it's a couple grand. It's like 10 grand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's same thing in Las Vegas where you had a lot of like these horse ranches, or used to be horse ranches next to each other, and these spots where they come in these smaller communities, or even bigger communities. But that's the thing. You could literally have, like, say you have a client and a buyer, and they're looking for a custom home, and they're looking for half acre to an acre custom home, right? So they're going to go to this vacant land that's available. You can literally have 1 acre here and 1 acre here. And this acre is like 30 grand cheaper or 40 grand cheaper than this acre because this one doesn't have utilities connected to it and this one does.
Right.
To bring those utilities even from the street is tens of thousands, like she's saying.
Yeah. And you have to apply for permits.
Yep.
You have to apply.
You have to do all these
And that's
things.
my point, because we started the show with, this is a good idea to like extend eviction restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, instead of focusing on get structures up, you have a supply problem here.
Yep.
This is where your time and energy should go if you want to solve the problem.
Absolutely.
But we won't. So we'll figure out what happens next.
So why do you think that's not occurring? I guess is the question. Like why?
Because we're humans.
But what's the real reason though why they're not focusing on that? I guess is what he's saying, right?
On what?
On trying to make the supply go up, or because look, a lot of people they're still staying
They're
in their
building
homes.
a lot of apartments.
They could, so the government immediately could cut a lot of red tape out of it.
yeah.
Yes, that's the thing. They could immediately cut out a lot of red tape in it.
I mean, they
But
could
now you're talking about a coordinated effort by a bunch of.
I mean, they can pass whatever they want, and you can subdivide.
Politicians.
You can subdivide a lot in a couple months, and just take government control of it. Sell it to us, we resell it, and we'll get it on. That's one thing you could do. They could buy it up from the private landowners and handle it everything themselves. So you take out all these, like every time you got to do a new structure, for instance, you got to apply with the city for a permit and the correct zoning and all these sorts of things. If the government owned the property themselves and just subdivided themselves, they're taking all that. So that's one way, is what I'm saying.
Las Vegas is come out.
point,
And
man.
they're like in one of the top. They're at the top of as far as still appreciation going into next year. They're talking about we're going to still not
Las
appreciate.
Vegas market?
Yeah, we're not going to appreciate like we did 18%. They're talking maybe
shouldn't.
4 to 7% is
Yeah.
what I was
But
hearing
I think we're already at 14% this year
this year.
so far.
I mean,
Yeah,
the average home appreciation in our normal, whatever the hell that is now, market should be 3 to 5% a year for real estate.
Yeah. So what does that tell you? If we're going to continue to appreciate, I know it's slower or it's less than what it is this year. But does that say that we're going to continue to have the same problems?
That says to me-
going into
well, that
2022?
says something else that's happening.
Go ahead, sorry.
I think I should mention before you talk.
Yep, go for it.
Is that they've increased the money supply by 25%, and that cash is
The
going to
Fed,
sit.
though.
Yes, and so that cash has got to like settle into assets unless people are holding it, and that would make sense why perhaps we may be seeing a 25% increase in housing from when they started the cash supply.
Does that money all go directly towards the
No,
housing?
it's in the general economy,
it's the
and it's floating
stimulus
around.
checks. It's the PPP
So-
loans. It's all
so
that.
then-
But that was
it-
from last year. That's not
Yeah, I
going to
know,
keep.
but it
Yeah,
ma-
that's what he's saying,
But it makes
25%
sense that all
increase
that
in a
cash
year.
needs to settle into assets.
Gotcha.
And if it settles into real estate, then there's 25% more cash to go into real estate that needs to sit somewhere. And maybe the market should go up 25%.
Well, like I said, at the end of
would
the
make
day,
sense.
I see what you're saying.
the main
Yeah.
takeaway of all this is
like cars, assets, cars, like
Yeah.
houses.
Again, because you're using that to take
it has
supply
to go
off.
somewhere. The cash
You
has to
take
go
supply
somewhere.
off.
So
Appreciation
that backs
goes
up my
up.
theory. I think I said last week where I think these prices are the new normal.
You don't think they're going to decline?
They might level off, but that's still going to be the new norm. Like the prices right now are still going to be what's
So-
normal and average.
With the eviction,
I'm not saying I agree, disagree. I'm just
okay.
what
With
I'm
this being
observing.
extended, and you're saying this money floating, obviously there's more money out there for people to utilize. Will it have a big impact here in Vegas to open up properties? Because I think the big question is what's going to.
it always will, man.
Well, so when is that going to? When is that going to start to happen? You think?
I mean, there's so many things involved. I mean, really, it's going to come down to the government's involvement or not involvement.
Yeah, but I'm saying. People
It's going to
wanna know.
happen when there's more homes on the market
What do you think, Matt?
and
When do you
interest
think
rates
that's gonna
go
happen?
up.
So that's what my prediction is.
Mine
Rates will
too.
go up.
Rates is the mechanism to cool stuff down.
Correct.
Yes.
But
or accelerate too.
Yeah, but
because
to
if you
cool it down
lower
is to
them-
increase the rates.
Right.
That would be, and so my neighbor said to me, we were talking last night, and he's like, another thing to consider is that, people are going to have to get used to paying $150 to fill up their truck instead of, I used to pay like 60 or 70. Now I pay about 90, 95. And then groceries. A friend of mine, she went to the grocery store last night and she spent like $300. And she was like, she's like, I can't believe I spent $300. But like, cost of living is going to go up as well.
You're
aside
not
from
going to be
real
able to have a
estate.
family. I mean,
so
like a
it's
big
going to get
family, right?
expensive. It's going to get expensive all the way around.
Everything. And, you know, we sit here because obviously we're in real estate lending and escrow and all that. But at the end of the day, everything is going up.
Yeah.
Not just homes.
No, it already is.
Used cars.
Yeah, it is. And it's
like,
going to keep going.
What's my mindset is, well, that's going to suck and it's going to be more expensive to live. But I owe myself to like sell more homes and make more money than what the increase in inflation is, like on like the cost of living, and also to find myself a rich sugar mama.
With that voice.
Goals. Hashtag goals.
No,
American dream goals.
I just want to climb up the totem pole.
Yeah.
I know.
That's why you got to go.
American goal.
You know where you can find that is the Spearmint Rhino.
I don't think so. That is the most dangerous place to go in the valley with those type of goals.
Man, how did I get 3,500 dinged on my credit card? Oh yeah, I blacked out and woke up and.
Okay.
I have a client that had that happen to him. His wife wasn't too happy, dude. Honey, why is it 3,500?
No, okay, so listen. So what happens is when you do go and you
Have
get
a
those
fun
kind of
weekend,
bills,
bud.
they do change the receipt to look like a different type of receipt.
Yes. I got a story.
Yeah, well, she did a little homework.
I got a story.
She did a little homework because it was the 3,500 ding.
Do you guys know what the Moonlight Bunny Ranch is?
Nope, never heard of it.
In Pahrump.
What's that place?
No,
I thought this was real estate.
By Carson City.
What's it called?
Moonlight Bunny Ranch.
I've never heard of that.
Is that a library?
Yeah.
Really good books?
We know
So
where the
anyhow,
library's at by Boulder Highway.
It's in a county, for those that don't know, kind of just southeast of Carson City, Reno. And I clerked, or that's what's called, the judge's legal assistant, helps the judge make stuff for that county's.
Judge's bitch.
Yeah, judge's bitch. So what part of my duties were just kind of going over complaints, making advice, and so one day get a complaint, take a look at it. It says a dentist goes into the bunny ranch that they gave him some sort of drink or something, wakes up 14 hours later with a sore hip and a credit card bill of $100,000.
Oh my God.
So he was suing them.
Isn't that what they did to Lamar Odom?
They drug him.
Yeah, so he was claiming they drugged him. So they sued him. They said no. I'm like, man, we got to get you a trial on this. I'd like to see some description of the witnesses.
Just to get your name behind that trial. That'll go public.
Going on right now.
Well, it's like this: you lost 100,000, but then your hips sore too.
Yeah, the hips.
Dude,
I didn't know this.
Supposedly they did the same thing to Lamar Odom, dude. Like it was like $75,000 to each girl, and he wasn't even in the room with the girls.
His hip was sore too.
No,
I didn't know dentists were carrying around
But they had you doing some
credit
activities.
cards with a $100,000 limit on that.
Yeah,
I
like
feel
an
like-
Amex.
Don't do that when you go to the Spearmint Rhino.
I feel
Don't
like
have
you
the
should
limit.
never bring your credit card into the. Maybe somebody can prepay. I don't know.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest. If you're that dumb as a guy, you're just dumb.
Like, I'll be honest with you. I don't feel bad for him. Yeah.
I agree.
I feel bad about the hip.
Believe me, I think he'll be the one to tell you lesson learned.
All right.
All right, let's get back to adult stuff.
Anything else?
I mean, it is adult stuff.
Stay out of the strip club
listen.
if you're dumb.
I feel this housing market is still the same. Nothing different, right?
Yeah.
But we're trying to see, is there signs that's showing that, because I think it's going to change everybody's life if inventory starts to open up. Even at rates at 5%, you go back to 2018.
That's high.
People were still buying.
Yeah.
It didn't drop it. So I'm curious to say, well, everybody's saying rates. I feel that that's going to happen, but I also think that, well, look at 2018. The confidence was still there. I think it actually pushed people into buying too in some areas because they're like, oh, this is the point where rates are really going to start to go back to 10%.
Yeah.
So I better get mine before I lose on it. Little did we know it went to 5% and it came back down. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen. I hope not either. I think, obviously it's a good time to refinance. I know we just, like I said, rates have dropped a little bit because of what's going on with COVID.
What is a rate? I'm just curious.
It's usually like, right now it's about high twos.
So you know what, Dan? Let's talk about that just for one quick second. We're always talking about, do we think the housing market is going to go up? All that stuff. What about rates?
I mean,
what's your feeling on rates going up? Because that's really what's going to make a huge difference, dude. Let's be honest.
I don't think rates are going to go up significantly. I don't think we can sustain it. And I think that if we do,
You don't think they're going to go up?
I do, as far as, yes, they might creep up, but they're not going to just. The only time that they're going to raise rates is if inflation really gets out of whack.
Right. So then we just talk. Sorry,
go ahead. No,
didn't we just talk about like this inflation seems to be a real problem?
No, it is.
And the Fed has one solution to that, and that's raise rates.
Just print more money.
Yeah. So the blend to that is
don't back it by anything, but
yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying, and I agree. That's a good point. Right. Inflation is a problem.
To give people a point of reference, how much would be the difference in, say, a rate jumping up 1%? On a $400,000 loan?
That's a good question. I don't think on that a 1% because the loan's $400,000.
Okay, let's say 2%. Let's say 2%. So what's
no? I would even say a half a point, full
Is
point.
it $100 per 100,000 you borrow?
Yeah,
per month?
but again, it depends on the loan amount too.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
it also
Yeah.
depends
What
on
you're
what's
doing down and credit score.
all this
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
So yes, it's a good rule of thumb to start with.
Okay.
but it's not the final say.
Sure.
Right.
Just a generality.
Yeah, but I think it makes a bigger impact in today's market. And you brought up a good point that if rates go up, you got a $500,000 or $600,000 home. If you have an eighth or a quarter of a point jump, that could be a difference of $100 to $150.
Well,
right?
I guess. Well, no one has a crystal ball, but you see, there's a ton of spending going on a hot market. Okay, and if it does become a problem, the Fed's going to act overnight. And you talk about 1%. I mean, they'll go up to 5, 8, 10 if they have to.
Yeah.
In the 90s, the same $400,000 loan you're talking about carried an 8-9% interest rate.
Yep.
It's insane, right? Because it's 2 today.
Everybody knows that rates have been low. The problem is it's the new norm. How long has it been since rates were over 5%? Even though we said in 2018 it was over a little bit.
So let's go back to your scenario. Say someone has a $700,000 loan. If rates went up, say 1.5%.
I mean that's just.
What's the difference in a payment?
That's a huge difference. That's probably
Like how much?
$300 difference.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because it's the loan size.
Well, I don't think that's going to make that much of a difference.
What's
other
a
than
jumbo?
mentality-wise, because $300 a month more isn't someone buying a $700,000 house. It's not going to.
Here's the difference: because you've been around and you've seen rates higher and up. All of us have, for the most part. We haven't seen a change like that, right? We've only seen a change come down and stay here. I mean, it's been here since 2010.
Because here's what happens: it goes up maybe a quarter. Everyone freaks out, says the world's coming to an end, and then a month later they realize nothing's really changed on their payment, and then they go back to.
Well, it comes down to inflation. But the Fed is manipulating inflation through the Fed's fund rate by raising it and decreasing it. Right now, it's 0.
There's only 2 ways to take care of inflation from a macro perspective: higher interest rates, higher taxes. And basically, if that happens, the government's hand is totally forced.
And both are not good for the economy, in my opinion. Like, it is okay to raise rates because it has to be a normal market, but to raise them to, I guess, defer.
It's not good. Trust me, it's not good for the economy. What's worse for the economy is your $100 being valueless.
Right.
Which will what happen if they don't.
And that's
do
what
it.
I'm saying. That's if you want to talk about home prices going down. I mean, I think that's going to have a bigger impact overall. If anything, then
it's harder to buy.
Yeah.
And then you got to lower your price.
Because your dollar's not worth what it is or was.
You guys ready to wrap up the show?
I'm ready, man.
You guys have anything else to say here? Matt, anything? Nothing?
Just that, everyone should take ownership of their own, life. And if you're having a hard time, you got to get on with it. That's it. And
well, you're dealt with the hands you're given, right? And I think that's what you got to get on with it.
You got to get on with it. I came to America with nothing, and then had no money and had a hangover and didn't have a cell phone, and I just had my rollerblades. And I sorted it out.
Yeah, but you had 2 things that suited you well: rollerblades and a British accent.
Exactly.
America.
You just got to get on with it. You just got to get on with it.
That's what makes our country great.
Got rid of the red coat.
Quit whining, get on with it.
We're all from your homeland anywhere there, bro.
And I'll just say really quick, Dan. No, I do have my own law firm, Dragon Law Group. We're doing a estate planning special this month, free consultation for an hour. And hey,
what's your website?
DragonLawGroup.com. Uncertain times, great times to get asset protection.
How's Baby Dragon doing?
He is just breathing fire. No, he's good.
And I can give a quick shout out to Joe, which is I've met and worked with and relations with a lot of different attorneys, and Joe is as good as they come.
I appreciate that, Brett.
Law-wise and just honest and moral and just a great hard worker. So
if you guys are doing real estate, do you?
If I ever need a lawyer again, no offense if I don't see on it.
When you need a lawyer again,
I mean when I need another one.
What about you, Brett? What do you got to say, man? Anything?
No, man, just keep on living. And
Anything about Bitcoin real quick? You got 30 seconds.
yeah, Bitcoin, man. We're of course. No, what's that? Bitcoin?
58,
I really
57.
don't have any thoughts on it. So to wrap that up, we're kicking into our second bull run. We're about ready to go up above 100 grand, baby. Gonna be a couple months by the end of the year, but that's my prediction. Hold me to it.
I'll just let it go.
We can talk about Keynesian.
We'll have a whole
Keynesian theory.
We'll have a whole series. We'll put a whole series.
I just watched an hour-and-a-half video on Keynesian and Bitcoin on YouTube. We'll send it to you.
All right, send me up. We'll have a whole
You're
series.
probably not going to look at it because I don't have an hour-and-a-half for shit I don't care about.
I put it in the background. You know?
It's wild right now.
Yeah.
Like 70s.
He said, "What is Bitcoin?"
Shitcoin.
Oh wow.
I love it. I love it.
Esmeralda, anything?
Hey, if you need any information about real estate investments, please see us again.
Yeah. Anything about what's going on with you? You got anything going on this weekend? You gonna go back to the place
She's
to drink?
getting away
You go
from
back
us,
to that
dude.
golf course to drink?
Whack some balls
No.
off the carpet.
Oh wow.
Anywhere there's not us.
All right, guys, this is Dan French. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't hit that like button, please hit it. Subscribe to the channel. Help us grow the channel. We need support. We're all here to help you guys and give you guys that content that's needed. We'll be back here on Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you then.
Buy Bitcoin.
Bye.
You know I was going to get that.
Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench Podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio-only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.